All right, and welcome inside to Keeping It Real with Alexander Garrett. I am Alexander Garrett. Alex G in NYC is my Twitter. Alex G in NYC is my Twitter. Now, we've had a huge diversion. We're going to have a huge diversion right now from politics, from Trump grounding Pelosi. Very intriguing day here in the United States. But I'm now going to go to Denmark because Jacob Mikkelsen is on the line. And Jacob, welcome inside to Keeping It Real with Alexander Garrett.
Thanks, man.
All the way from Denmark.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And I caught your piece on Vice, Catcher in the Eye, and I feel like it's good to go back in time because the 90s for New York City was very a fun time, and you were here for it all the way from Denmark. So first, take us back to that day and how you ended up at the Gershwin Hotel and how Vice got a hold of you.
Yeah, basically, I was born in Denmark and I grew up in Sweden, and I early on became very interested in just American culture and American movies and music, and I became a DJ, so I got into hip-hop, and of course, all of the favorite stuff that I liked came from New York. So I started focusing my attention to New York since I was a kid. And then little by little, I became an artist, and then I went to art school, first in San Francisco and then in New York. And then after school, I just continued living in the city and doing my thing. And then Vice found this work through Sarah Rosen, who is the editor, and she has been editor for some books that my work has been in before. So she reached out and said, "You have any fun story you want to tell?" So I just thought maybe this story could be fun. It's like a era that is so far away from where I am now. So it's kind of a mind-blowing revisit for my mind as well. Also, when you're talking about politics, yeah.
I think it's an era far gone from everybody's mind because of the daily thing, and I think the phone. But what you captured in those pictures in New York is what I wish we had today. People just hanging out, people not on their phone, people just talking and having a good time. And I'm sure you feel that era is well gone. But what was it like documenting the 90s here in New York through photography?
Yeah, that's actually the thing now. When you go out, everybody has a phone with an amazing camera on it. So everybody's taking photos constantly, which means that, photos from this time is going to be really hard to figure out how to make a series like this, because back then I was one of the few people that even had a camera. And because people knew, and I knew that, I was a DJ as well, and I knew the promoters and the door people, they knew me with the camera, so that's why I was able to take these pictures. Because usually you're not allowed to take photos in the clubs because a lot of shady stuff was going on as well. So, but they recognized me as an artist, not just as a paparazzi.
And how did the people
how
the people that you photographed take it? Were they very intrigued? Were they eager to get their picture taken, or did you get some people saying, "No, I don't want to be photographed"? Or how did that work out?
I never took photos that people were aware of. I did kind of attack them with my flash and my camera and shot them. So they didn't know that I was going to shoot them before I shot them. And that comes very much from schooling of keeping it authentic. I don't want to pose. I didn't want people to know that I was shooting until it actually happened. And it was also actually part of a performance I was doing because I went into this kind of state of mind of Holden Caulfield where I needed to go around and shoot phonies or people in the New York scene that I were interacting with. And, being from Denmark, you come from it's a whole different world from New York. So I guess in the state of mind, I was kind of a very naive young man that was exposed to all this, and I kind of just captured it and shot it and needed to keep it in my mind because I needed to kind of capture this time that I wasn't seeing with my own eyes and saying, if I don't take these pictures, who will?
And I think that's how we are today, too. Like, everybody's taking their pictures on their phone. And I guess, how would you say social media has evolved photography while we're on the subject of photography? How's it evolved, or has it, would you say it's more of an evolution, or is there just a difference? Or what would you say about today's world of photography?
Well, it's hard because, again, everybody is a photographer at this point. To stand out now as a photographer, you have to really go back. Most art photographers are going back to large format or to film or going back to very analog style, because that's the only way they can defend that they're actually doing photography and not just snapping away with a phone. So either you embrace the phone and then just start shooting with your phone and saying, this is my art, shooting with a phone because this is what's going on right now, or you go the other way around and you go back to analog. And a lot of people are going to analog. Also, it's becoming like a hipster thing as well. So, and I think it's, analog is amazing. This stuff is analog, and I scanned it. So, when you look at some of the, actually on the screen for the Vice story, you can see the grain of the film, which is kind of fantastic because you don't have that anymore with digital.
And obviously, those kind of pics were the era of the 90s. Now, talk about what you were doing for work, because you were actually doing the interior designing. Is that right? Or with the interior designer in residence, Lynn Packwood. Talk about that experience.
Yeah. I was doing all kinds of stuff in New York. I was DJing. I was doing clubs, doing events, and also doing photo shoots and stuff like that. And then I was working a lot with the Gershwin Hotel, where I had been the first stop I had ever had when I was backpacking in America, right after high school in Sweden. And then I came to the Gershwin Hotel and became friends with the people there, and had a girlfriend who was the designer of the place. And then, after a couple of years, I became more and more friends with the owner, and I was offered to become the artist in residence at the hotel, which meant that I lived in the hotel, and then I was doing events. I was doing the gallery, I was doing the bar, the restaurant, and we were doing, theater and live shows with Nicky Carson and all these kind of things. So basically the Gershwin Hotel became kind of an art center or a cultural center. And, one of the things that was always fun was that most New Yorkers that came there, they didn't even know it was an actual hotel. They could only kind of figure it out because it was kind of a discreet little door that was an elevator, but other than that, they only knew it as a cultural center. So it was that's what I was doing. Basically, living for free in New York is it's mind blowing. It's kind of a dream come true. And then I could do all these things, or basically I was hired to do them, but as an artist, it was part of my life, so I didn't even think about it as work. It was just what I was doing.
We're talking about Jacob Fuglsang Mikkelsen. You can actually find him on Instagram at Jacob, and then let me get my spelling right, Fuglsang Mikkelsen, all on Instagram, all in one word there, Jacob Fuglsang Mikkelsen. And I'm so glad to have him on because as a 90s kid growing up in New York, I thought the city was pretty great, and your photos clearly capture that there was an aura here in the 90s. Now, have you come back since that time? And if so, what's it like coming back to New York nowadays?
Well, as it's also mentioned in the story, I met an American woman actually at the Limelight in the VIP room of the Giger VIP room where I was DJing. And so we had a child, and we moved back here to Denmark, and then unfortunately the Danish immigration laws, the way things were after 9/11, it became so tight. So even as a Dane, I couldn't bring my American woman into Denmark. So we had to move to Sweden, and our relationship fell apart, and she went back to America. So ever since, I've been going back to America a lot because basically I'm doing everything I can to figure out ways of seeing my daughter. So I've been doing projects in America for the last, 15 years. back and forth. It's mainly cultural projects, but also art and ecological projects. A lot about electric cars. I worked a lot with Earth Day. Also done a lot of political projects, political art projects, because I was very affected by 9/11. So basically, for me, it was just a before and after 9/11 kind of New York, and I get sad just thinking about how much has changed, New York is just not what it was, and I saw New York as the ultimate woman of my life, and she got beaten pretty bad. So New York now, it's clean and nice, and all the stores are closed, and it looks like a ghost town. But it's it's
still
a different
New York,
place.
as the song goes. Actually, it's still New York. That is, and I actually worked down here by the World Trade Center, by the Freedom Tower, and rolling by here, seeing the exuberance now, the rebuilding of it, really inspires me that we can be resilient. And obviously, post 9/11, we showed our resilience, that we weren't going to let that stop us. And it's really become a built-up neighborhood again, which I'm very, very proud of. And I'm proud of our city.
Yeah.
I just wish it was led a little differently. Now, you talk about politics. I'm sure you're following what's going on daily here, being that you come to America as well. So I don't know if you want to weigh in on that really quickly. But
I want to know when I'm, when what's going on. So if I need to come and get my kid, because things are looking pretty rough over there, I would say.
It's
so,
it's not an easy going right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's pretty strange. It's pretty strange, and there's, of course, for me to really kind of massage my brain, I try to look at all perspectives of what's going on, and there's so many perspectives, and it's very interesting to follow the different perspectives, because who is to say what is the truth? That's the mind-blowing thing, Who knows what the truth really is?
That's it. That's I think what we're all struggling for every day, is to figure out who's on the right side of history, who's on the wrong side of history, etc. And you said you do political artwork. So what exactly do you do? Like, what kind of political artwork do you do?
I was trying to figure out after 9/11, how can I ever do art again? Because to me, that was like the end of everything. I tried to figure out what was the reason for some of this. And, one of my conclusions in my research was oil or energy. So I tried to figure out historically what's the biggest mystery in the world of transportation and then energy, which is, of course, the answer is the electric car. So I tried looking at, before there was, a gasoline car, there was an electric car, and all of a sudden it was taken over by the oil industry and the car industry, and then the electric car was gone. So my perspective is, what would have happened if we had just continued with the electric car? Would the world be different? Would we have a different world where we weren't going for oil and weren't, and whatever comes around going for oil. So in that sense, without, pushing the really hardcore political aspect of it, I tried to create where you can do your own research, because once you know that there's something like electric cars and somebody like Tesla, then you start thinking about what is energy anyway.
Did you ever get a chance to interact with Elon Musk at all in the whole electric car? You did?
Yeah. I was good. I'm good friends with Chris Payne, who made the movies Who Killed the Electric Car and The Revenge of Electric Car. So we went to the Tribeca Film Festival opening of the film, where Elon Musk was also there. So I met him there, actually.
How was it? What was it like talking with him?
I wasn't, it was just hi and, nice to meet you and stuff like that. And, I think we asked one of the main questions that were asked to him at that point was, what is the future of energy? And he said solar power. It's the only way we can move forward. and this was in 2010, 11 or something like that. So, and that's what he's focused on, solar power and electric cars.
And so you do that, and then come back to New York, obviously. You have this series on Vice right now. It's called Catcher in the Eye, inspired by Catcher in the Rye and Holden Caulfield. And really quickly, what do you want people to get out of this work, out of this photography? Is it just remember the euphoria that was the 90s? Is that kind of what you hope, and that these memories live on through you?
I mean, there's many layers. Just the concept of using the wording "Catcher in the Eye" based on Catcher in the Rye, which is a book that is in the consciousness of all Americans. Everybody has grown up reading it. And then there is also the side-going aspects with the fact that, if you buy that book, you're registered saying, this is a potential dangerous person buying this book, because going back to the murder of John Lennon, this guy Chapman, that's what he was claiming was what told him to kill Lennon. So there's a lot of kind of cultural and historical references in that sentence. And then also the idea of going into the hardcore kind of New York underground and club scene and the art scene as this kind of young boy, seeing this kind of strange world. I hope that this is what you can see in the photos, that I'm kind of just mind-blown curious about these people and this energy, because the energy of New York, especially in the New York underground scene and the club scene, is mind-blowing. It's addictive. People at that point, they wanted to go out, as many nights as possible, because just the energy of the club scene and the night scene was mind-blowing. And that's also what I try to catch is, you can feel the energy of the scene, or the ether.
I truly hope that we can, we don't let that spirit die, because I think New York still has a spirit about it. And unfortunately, the phone and whatever else and the self-centeredness that I've seen in New York has kind of just decreased the spirit. But I hope through your pictures, people are inspired to, yes, still be friendly with people.
I have to say, one of the things that's interesting, me and my girlfriend are during the wintertime, we've been watching Netflix. And I'm realizing this is where people are living now in America. They're living in their screens, and they're living on Netflix. So that's actually one of the things that's come about after all this with Vice and stuff. It's like, maybe this could be a good film. This could be a good TV series. It could be a good concept for actually trying to catch that energy and bring back that story, because it's a very, I think in American culture, it's an important story that those in between years, because, you remember New York in certain ways, and then after 9/11, everything just, it's like everything before that was, it's gone. So it's kind of a before a certain event kind of situation. And I'm wondering if will be somebody out there who will be interested in doing kind of some kind of script with it. I'm going to start chewing on this idea.
Oh, keep us posted, and hopefully, this podcast hopefully could reach them, and maybe we see what we can do with it, because I do agree that through Netflix we can capture that. I love that idea. So let's work on that. And Jacob, where can people follow you? I mentioned Instagram. Is there a Twitter for you as well?
Yeah, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, the same thing with Twitter, my name, Jacob Mikkelsen, and Facebook. There, I have my own personal thing, and then there's my page, my website, same thing, my name, jacobfuglsangmikkelsen.com. Yeah, and it's always been like a funny thing is that at this point that's what people are doing now. As soon as they meet somebody, they just Google who you are, and before you know it, they know more than what you know.
That's right.
It's a scary thing, especially when you meet new people. All of a sudden, they know more about you than you ever thought.
Well, Jacob, I'm sure people listening to this will find out more about you, because I want to get the man behind the story that Vice is featuring, Catcher in the Eye, Jacob Mikkelsen. Find him at Jacob Fuglsang, 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 on Twitter and elsewhere on Instagram.
Fuglesang means bird song in Danish. So Jacob Birdsong Mikkelsen. Mikkelsen is my great grandfather's Mikkel, so that's why it's like a Danish thing where you take names for where you're from and your great grandfather's name.
And he actually stayed up in Denmark right now to do this interview, so I'm very appreciative of that. In Denmark. Thanks so much, Jacob, and we'll be in touch, all right? And I'd love to have you back.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Good night. Good night.
Right, bye-bye.
This is Keeping It Real with Alexander Garrett. Thanks so much for joining us here, and we'll be back soon. Take care. Hey, Jacob, thanks so much.
All right, man.